Well, good day to everyone, and thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time today to spend some time with us here at Manage Engine. And for those of you that are administrators and looking for some inside scoops and some tips on how to kind of see things that are happening on your network a little bit better, I think you're in the right place. Over the last couple of years, we've been trying to put together webinars, seminars, blogs, articles, videos that really are directed towards Active Directory administrators, helping them to basically just get more efficient, more control, more security around Active Directory using things that you already have and trying to leverage certain techniques and tools. So that's what we're all about today. Some logistics for today. This is being recorded, so you should be receiving an email in the next day or so with a link to the recording if you want to share it with any of your colleagues, or if you just want to see it again. So don't worry if you feel that you miss anything. You will be getting a recording of this, and you'll be able to review yourself as well. If you do have any questions as we go through, whether it be about the material or about really anything around Active Directory, please use your GoToWebinar panel. There should be a question area there, and you can post your questions. There are, other than me, other team members on the background helping me with today's webinar, so they'll be answering questions as we go through, so please take advantage of that. If you do have any questions following the webinar, that is my email address that you see there, and of course you can always email anyone else on the AD Solutions team. We'd be more than happy to take your email and try to help you as much as possible. So you know a little bit more about who's talking to you today. Let me just give you a little bit of information about me. My name is Derek Melber. I am the technical evangelist for the AD Solutions team here at Manage Engine, and I am a 16-time MVP in Active Directory and group policy. Really what that means is I get to basically go to the MVP summits, and I do have a direct tie into Microsoft. So if you do have any very obscure, very detailed questions or comments for Microsoft, please send those along to me, and I'd be more than happy to send those into the teams into Microsoft. As you all know, we will be in Orlando next week at Microsoft Ignite. So if you are going to be there, please stop by. Give us a shout. I can't remember our exact booth, but I'm sure you can track us down. We'd love to meet you. I do want to share some resources with you. We don't have a ton of time together, so I want to make sure that you have some resources available to you when you leave. Two of the main resources I want to point you to are actually on our website. So if you go to manageengine.com and then you come over here to support, you'll see that we have some blogs. I try to blog every single week, and the point of the blog is really for us to try to communicate to you some things that we feel are critical, some questions that we got from other people. So here's some information about backups, recovery, workflow. We just try to hit a barrage of different things related to Active Directory. So it's a great resource for you. You can come in here and do searches. So let's say that you want to do some searching on security. You can look at Active Directory security, hardening. There's some great things that are out here. Really, the blog is geared towards really about 5 minutes of your time. We post every single week. So go out, take a look at that, and see if there's anything that would interest you. I think you'll find that there's some really good information out there. The second resource that I want to point you to, again, if you go to our main landing page, manageengine.com, come over here to products, and then go to security hardening of Active Directory. This is a site that was built a couple of years ago, and it is still 100% fresh information to help you, the administrator, secure your Active Directory environment. So if you come in here and then go to the bottom of the page, you'll see that we have some areas that will help guide you on what is critical that you secure within your Active Directory and your Windows Server environments. If you click on any of these areas, you'll see that there are detailed blogs helping you with that. So please come and take advantage of this resource. It's free, and it's something that we highly recommend that you come take advantage of to secure your Active Directory environments. So those are just some resources that we have available. I will, with great joy, introduce our new dummies book that we have. We will be sending out emails on how you can get a hold of this book yourself. This book is completely 100% hot off the press. And we will be sending out links where you can download your own copy, go through it, have it available to you. It is really kind of a fun little read on how to secure privilege access in Active Directory. So keep an eye out for that. And it's something that we're pretty proud of that we were able to bring to you. Finally, let's talk about our world tour. This is our third year of our world tour. We have been going around the world for 3 years. Last year, I went to 25 countries. This year, I've been to about 15 countries, and in the next 6 weeks, I'll hit another 10. So what we do in these world tour events is we have seminars. So we come into a city, and we really just try to give you information, similar to a webinar. But it's obviously more private, more personal because we're there live. We normally have a couple of AD experts talking about Active Directory, talking about security, talking about a variety of different things. So please, if we are in your area, there's a list of different places we're going to be in the next couple of weeks. Please come and see us. We would love to shake your hand, say hi, and just get to know you better. And hopefully, if you have any problems, we can hopefully solve them. That's really what our quest is. There is my email. Please email me with any questions. All right, enough of the logistics. Let's get into some material. So what I want to do today is I want to reach out to administrators to help them help themselves. I know it's kind of a quirky little saying, but that's really what the goal is today. There are so many things that happen inside of Active Directory that are impossible to see, to know what's happening. Now, if you were the only person that could administer Active Directory, we really wouldn't have to talk about this because you would know every change that occurs. However, you're not the only person. There are many people that can change Active Directory. And if someone has the ability to change something, what are they going to do? That's right, they're going to change it. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have complete visibility into the changes that are occurring into Active Directory. So what I'm going to suggest is that we set up monitoring so that we can receive alerts and run reports on changes that are occurring and have occurred in Active Directory. For example, let's just talk about privileged groups. Now, with regards to privileged groups, well, what does this mean? Well, before we jump in, let me set it up this way. Here I am inside of my Active Directory environment. Here I have a group, domain admins. Every single installation of Active Directory has domain admins. The domain admins group has complete control, 100% control over that domain. So this group allows privileges to control any object in the entire domain. They could come in and wipe out everything. They could change anything. They can change group policy. They can really change any server or workstation because the domain admins is dumped into the local administrators group. So my question to you is, right now at this very second, how confident are you of the members of the domain admins group? Now, before you answer that, again, I'm going to remind you that you aren't the only person that can change the domain admins group members. So are you tracking this? Are you, the administrator of Active Directory, being notified when someone is added or removed to this group? And even the enterprise admins and the schema admins and the DNS admins and the group policy creator owners group. These are privileged groups. So what we need to do is we need to get a handle on these privileged groups so that we know what's going on. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to do that by, first of all, triaging the groups. Because if you don't know who has privileges, you don't know what's going on. And it's critical that you know what's going on. Now, I don't want to dive into breaches, but I mean, it seems like the breaches are becoming more prevalent, more common, and bigger. I mean, Equifax it was a perfect example of a breach that, look at all the information that's now being publicized, that's now out in the wild. And really, we need to know who has privileges. We need to control this. So how do we do it? Well, we first must document our groups that have privileges. And I'm going to say there's 3 categories of these groups. Category 1 are those groups that have privileges that are built in. Schema admins, enterprise admins, group policy creator owner, domain admins, all of the groups that when you install Active Directory, that group has some level of privilege. That's the first category. Second category of groups are going to be those that are related to services and applications, such as, like I have one here for SQL Server. You might have one for Exchange or SharePoint or some other application. Finally, you're going to have some groups that are custom, such as like HR managers. Under IT, you might have some contractors, IT managers. These are groups that you have created, which also have privileges. So once we document all the groups that have privileges, now what we need to do is track the changes. Well, how do we track the changes to these groups? Well, let me take one step back and then one step forward. I'm going to come in here to my group policy management console. And under group policy management, I'm going to come in here to a GPO that I have created, which sets up security for auditing. So under my security settings, my local policies, I have the audit policy, and you'll see that I have my audit policy set up. Now, we want to make sure that we have account management, director service access, and then some other things can also be set up, but we want to make sure that we are tracking group policy object changes. Now, for those of you that have newer domain controllers running newer operating systems for Microsoft, you also want to look at your advanced audit policy. This advanced audit policy allows you to come in and be more granular, targeting exactly what you want to track. So there's a couple of different things that you can do, but no matter what, you want to make sure that you set up auditing. If you don't know how to set up auditing, please email me, and I'd be more than happy to send you a document that'll help you actually go through that. Okay. Sorry, I was just reading one of the comments there. It says that someone was having trouble listening. So if anyone else is having trouble hearing me, please let me know. I did a sound check before, and it looks like everything is good. But of course, I don't want to be sitting here talking to myself. It looks like everything's good to go. All right. So we need to set up auditing, which I just showed you how to do. If you want to know how to do that, send me an email, and I will send you a document fully describing how to set that up. And then we need to know how to get the information out. Now, if you just use auditing from Microsoft, when you track changes, you're going to have to go into the event viewer, the security log in the event viewer, to see the changes. Okay, so here we are, 146,000 events, and we need to track changes. Now, if someone goes into Active Directory and they modify a group, let's say the enterprise admins, right? Someone comes in and let's say that they remove a user, okay? Well, that is actually tracked, and that's going to be listed here in your event viewer. But you're going to have to be able to sift through this. So that change that I just made is in here somewhere, right? But with 145,000 events, how are you going to find it? So what you're going to determine, and what you have determined, which is probably why you're on this webinar, is that that's almost impossible. It's very difficult to know and see the changes that are occurring. So what we need and what we want are real-time alerts. When I'm in my live seminars, I have a group, right? 50 to 100 administrators sitting in front of me. They're there for anywhere from 3 to 7 hours. They're away from their desk. They're away from work. If someone were to modify the enterprise admins group, shouldn't they be notified so they can take control of that situation if they need to? They shouldn't have to wait until they get back to the office. What I'm suggesting is they receive a real-time alert of that change. Now remember, I just changed my enterprise admins. So what I'm going to suggest is that you set up something to where you receive a real-time alert indicating, and you'll see here that Tom Boyd was removed from enterprise admins, that you receive an alert of these types of changes. Now, this alert that you're looking at is a dashboard alert. Obviously, I can also set up these alerts to come to your inbox. So you can receive alerts, real-time alerts, of when things are changing inside of Active Directory, such as group membership. So how do you do that? Well, you're going to do that by using a tool that takes advantage of the security logs. Now, the tool that I just showed you is AD Audit Plus. Now, let me show you how simple this tool is. The tool is based on reports. Reports monitor changes in Active Directory. I have reports for a variety of different things that are changing in Active Directory. I have one here for modified admin groups. You will see here that enterprise admins was changed by Derek, me. Tom was removed from the group at this time. Now, this is important because the report is really what we're leveraging. The report has an entry that enters the report. What I can do is I can set up an alert that focuses on that report. So right here is my alert for modified admin groups, right? This is the report. If any new entry shows up on that report, I'm going to throw an alert that's critical. I can either do it to the dashboard, or I can also send an email notification. So when someone changes that, it shows up on the dashboard and shows up in your inbox. It's that simple. Now, the reason that I went over the different types of privileged groups is that you are going to have to configure those. AD Audit Plus is super simple to configure. You come into these report categories. We're talking about privileged groups, so you go to Group. You go to the report for modified admin groups. You edit it, and right here you simply hit the plus sign, and you add in, like I've done here, all of my other privileged group categories: default, service application, and custom. Now that we have our reports, the reports have alerts. If someone changes any of the groups that I have that are custom, again, if I go back here, let me show you one of those. Let's say HR managers, right? If someone goes into Active Directory and they modify the HR managers, right? Properties, members, if someone adds in someone to this group, that is immediately noticed, and that is going to be alerted in your inbox as well as on your dashboard. So now you will know when any privileged group changes membership. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Now, normally I do this at the end, but I'm going to give you a challenge right now. I'm going to challenge all of you that don't have AD Audit Plus. I want you to go to the website, download it. Actually, start the timer first. Start a timer. Download the product, install the product, configure the product, and get an alert from a change in AD. I'm going to guarantee you, if you can dedicate 20 minutes of your time, it's going to take you less than 20 minutes to do that. It's that simple of a tool, but that powerful of a tool for you to be able to get that type of information. Extremely powerful and extremely efficient. So that's privileged groups. That's the first report that I think you should be getting. Now, I think you should also be getting reports and alerts on service accounts. Now, service accounts are very special because service accounts are configured, and normally they have very high privileges. In many cases, they have domain admin privileges. So what we need to do is we need to, first of all, know our service accounts, where they're configured, and then we need to track and monitor changes to them. So how do we document all of our service accounts? Now, when I talk about service accounts, what I'm talking about is if I go to my services.msc and I come over here to my logon as, it's this list. This is what I'm talking about here, okay? These are service accounts. But I'm talking about service accounts on all your servers. So if you have 500, 600, 1,000 servers, am I going to suggest that you go do this? No, that's too much work. What we have done here is we have developed for you a tool that allows you to go and get all of your Windows service accounts at one time. And it's part of our free AD toolkit. So if you come in here, free Active Directory tools, if you have this toolkit and you haven't updated it recently, please go do that, because we've added service account management. And under service accounts, you will select all of your Windows servers. Once you've selected your Windows servers, you go and get service accounts. No agent, nothing has to be installed on any other machine. You're just using the credentials that has access to all those servers. The result is a list of all of the service accounts for all those servers you selected. Of course, some of these are defaults, so you'll want to filter and only get the list of users. Pretty powerful, pretty cool, huh? So this is a pretty awesome free tool that you have at your disposal. Now that you have a list of service accounts, you're going to come back to the tool that tracks and monitors changes. You are going to configure a new user modification report. You're going to create a new report. This is my service account management. You're going to select any and every type of change that can occur to the service account, add in the list from the free tool that you got, and you're done. Now, I have a report on service account modifications. Anytime a service account is changed, it's reported. I obviously also have an alert, so if someone comes into my service accounts and do any type of change on any service account, that change is going to immediately show up in my inbox and obviously on my dashboard too. That simple. It's that quick. It's that easy. With the right tools, your job can be much easier. You can see things that are changing in Active Directory that you never thought were possible before. I mean, I think it's obvious that if you can track changes to privilege groups, you can track changes like enabling, disabling, resetting of passwords to service accounts. You have insight now to things that you never thought you could see before in Active Directory. Now let's move to Administrator Logon. Now, when I talk about Administrator Logon, I'm going to talk about two different levels of Administrator Logon. First, I'm going to talk about the administrator account, and then I'm going to talk about, in general, administrators. Now, let's first of all talk about the administrator account in Active Directory. So I'm going to go back here to Active Directory users and computers, and I'm going to come down here to my users container, and right here is administrator. Now, the first thing that I'm going to suggest that you actually configure AD to be secure with regard to administrator. What I mean by that is you want to rename the original administrator. That's right. The first step is to rename administrator. I have renamed administrator. I renamed administrator to James Bond. Let me prove it to you. If I go into James Bond attributes and I come down to James Bond's SID, it's object SID, you'll see it ends in 500. So all administrators in Windows end in 500. That's the 500 SID right there. It's a well-known SID. So I renamed administrator to James Bond. Then I created a new account called administrator, which has what types of privileges? 0. No privileges. Now, why did I do this? I did this because I want to catch someone trying to hack in as administrator. I want to catch someone trying to do something to the administrator account. And I do that by monitoring the changes to these two objects. So I have reports of any changes to administrator or the 500 SID. Now, if I go back 6 months, I haven't done anything for quite a while, you'll see that I have tracked changes, password being set, different things occurring with these accounts. I also have reports and alerts set up that if someone logs on in a failure, right? So if I go back the last 3 months, you can see that I am tracking logon failures. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for logon failures for administrator and or James Bond, right? Because I want to know when someone is trying to get into those accounts. So I can actually set up reports if an administrator, where is my failed administrator logon? Administrative users that failed to log on, right here. So if I go over the last 3 months, I should get a report of failed logons. You'll see those here. Now I'm doing this in general, not just about administrator, because all of your administrators, all of your developers, all of your technicians, those accounts need to be monitored to see if someone is trying to hack into them. So what I did is I went in here to this one right here, logon failures for admin users, and I didn't add the users, I added the groups. So any user that's part of any of these groups, and I can of course modify these groups and add more, if anyone fails to log on and they're a member of one of these groups, they're going to show up in this report right here. That's pretty awesome. Try to do that using the event viewer. It's almost impossible, right? But what I want to know is I want to be notified of when someone fails to log on. These are things that you can do easily. The 3 things that I've shown you already, you can set up all 3 of those in less than 30 minutes. You can be receiving alerts on all of these things in less than 30 minutes. You can get control of groups that have privileges and their changes, administrators that are in those groups and when they fail to log on, and any service account change. Tell me that won't change the way you administer Active Directory. It absolutely will. Now let's move on to a different topic, group policy modification. In a couple of hours, I actually have another webinar on the 5 myths of group policy. Okay, so if you want to join that, email me and I'll send you a link. You can join that webinar as well. It actually is pretty intriguing. I haven't actually talked about group policy in quite a while. I'm pretty excited. So let's talk about group policy modification, right? One of the myths about group policy that I'm going to talk about is group policy is easy. Well, I used to be a group policy MVP, and I do not believe that trying to manage 5,000 settings plus per GPO is easy. I mean, when you start looking at the list of settings that are available, this becomes overwhelming, right? This is one list. If I come down here to administrative templates and I look at all my settings, I mean, look at this list of settings. Look at that list. I mean, there are thousands upon thousands of settings in a single GPO. This is not easy. And then when you start looking at the details, how do you know what individual settings do, right? I mean, unless you test it out thoroughly, how do you know what a setting does? So with regard to group policy, we need to be a little apprehensive. We need to learn what to do. We need to test. But if anything changes, we have to be notified. If someone comes into a group policy object, right? I mean, let's say someone comes into a GPO, clicks edit, goes into a setting. Let's say they go into your password, right? I mean, let's heaven forbid someone changes a password setting and changes a setting for your password. How do you know that that change occurred? Don't you want to be notified of when a setting in a group policy object changes? I mean, in my small little test domain here, I only have a handful of GPOs. But with 5,000 settings per, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 20, right? 20 times 5,000, I think is what, 100,000 settings? How do you know when one setting changes? Well, what you want to have is you want to have a tool like AD Audit Plus, which allows you to look at GPO management, right? I want to know when GPOs were recently modified, and here's the one recently modified. That's today. Look at that right there. I already have the details on this. If I want to look at the details, now I go to advanced settings, and I look at the password policy settings, and you'll see that I not only have the settings, but I know that the old value was 1 and the new value is 0. I mean, this is some pretty powerful stuff. This is the level of detail that I need. I want to know when things are changing. I want to be able to see these changes, okay? This tells me that the change occurred. This right here is telling me things are changing, okay? So I want the reports. I want the alerts. I need to know what is going on in my Active Directory environment, and I need to know that with GPO. I need to know links that are being added or removed. I need to know GPOs that are being created or deleted or modified. I need to know the settings. I don't want the whole old value, or I want the new value. I need this level of detail. Without it, you are in big trouble. You need this level of detail with group policy because it's so complicated. There are too many things that can go wrong with group policy to bring down part of Active Directory, part of your domain controllers, part of your servers, communications, different things that are going on. You need insight into these things that are changing. Now, let's move on to our last alert that we need. Organizational unit, access control list changes. That's right, delegation. When delegation changes, you need to be made aware. Now, what do I mean by delegation? Inside of Active Directory users and computers, if you go to any OU, let's say HR, and you go to the delegate control wizard, you can actually give someone, a user or group, right? So if I give my HD techs the ability to do something like reset passwords, right? That's too easy. I mean, it was 4 clicks. I just gave my help desk technicians the ability to reset passwords for any HR user. You need to be notified if this occurs in your environment. Are you notified today? Do you even know who has delegation today? Because there's only 2 ways to track down delegation that I know of. One is you go into every OU, you go to the properties, you go to security, you go to advanced, and you have to look through every entry to see under edit what checks are granted. Look at all these entries. And you can't just look at what shows up, right? You also have to go through this list. And don't forget this list, right? You got to go through all of these checks to make sure you know who has delegation. I'm sure that you haven't done that. Now, let me give you the other tool to do this. If you actually go to a command prompt and you do DS ACLs, it stands for Directory Service Access Control List. Then you put in your LDAP syntax for the OU that you're looking at. So this is my HR OU in my AD Solutions .demo domain. And now I have a listing of all of the access control list entries that are set. If I go to the bottom, you will see that HD techs have the ability to reset the password, but oops, so do finance managers. That's not good. So my suggestion to you is, first of all, run DS ACLs against all of your OUs to make sure you know that all of your ACLs are correct on your OUs. Then you're going to go and set up a report, which is already here actually by default, of when an OU permission changes, okay? And you'll see right there's HR, it's already listed. I have the old and new value for the ACL. Then you're going to set up an alert, which I already have done, so that if it changes, you'll see it right here. I know I've said it a couple times, and you're probably tired of hearing me say it, but I got to say it again. With these alerts, the way that you manage Active Directory completely changes. You no longer have to worry about changes. You're notified of the change. You can take immediate action. These are critical aspects of Active Directory. Some of you are going to be under GDPR soon. Depending on the auditor, you're going to have to know this level. Because if I can go in and change a group membership, the group may have access to GDPR data, and that data now is going to be exposed. You have to know this level of information. You're going to have to do this. Look how easy this is. With the right tool, it's super simple. With the right tool, you're going to be alerted in real time. This is what we need as Active Directory administrators. So in this brief time together, we've talked about privileged groups, privileged users, administrators, service accounts, which has privileges, GPO modifications, we can bring down part or all of our Active Directory environment, and ACL changes for OUs, known as delegation. And I showed you in this brief time, I'm telling you, download, install, configure, and start getting alerts in 20 minutes. It's that simple. Where do you go? Let me show you. You come over here to our main page. You go to products, you go to 80 Audit Plus, and you hit download. Done. It's that simple. Please, I'm begging that you go do this. This is where you need to start. I am looking out for you. It's my job. I'm an MVP. My job is to look out for you. I am your advocate. This is a simple way for you to get control over Active Directory. Okay? So that's where I'm going to suggest that you go from here. Hopefully you asked some questions along the way and you got those questions answered. I want to thank all of my team members for helping me answer those questions. I really appreciate that. It allows me to focus on the material and allows us as a team to give you everything that you need with questions and material. I want to thank you, all of you, for attending. I know it's difficult to step away from work, but I just want to thank you. We will be in Europe over the next 6 weeks. Please, if we are going to be near you at a user conference, at a seminar, at any type of event, please come see us. We want to see you. We want to try to help you as much as possible, okay? Please email me if you want a list of those events. We can get you a list of those events that are going to be near you. Again, I'm going to be in about 10 different countries, about 15 to 20 different cities over the next 6 weeks. We will be there. We want to help you as much as possible. Please bring your questions to us. We'd love to help you with that. If you just want to email us, that's my email address. You also have the email address to the events team at the 80 Solutions. So please email us with any questions that you might have. It's a way for us to keep fresh and to keep track of what's going on. I know your time is valuable. I'm going to let you get back to what you're doing today. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We will be sending you an email with a link to our new Dummies book, as well as a link to this recording. So until the next time, good luck to you. Hopefully we will hear from you soon, and have a good rest of your day. Derek Melber and the rest of the 80 Solutions team, thank you and good day.